Abidjan, Côte d'Ivoire. The Grand Chess Tour Rapid and Blitz has ended. This is the day after everybody's checking out and the players have already left. I have with me the chief organizer, the president of the Ivorian Chess Federation, Essoh Essis. How did you find the tournament? Did it meet your satisfaction?
Yes, it did. Everybody I talked to said that it was a good tournament. Everybody I talked to said that we held the mark of a historical event for Africa. Everybody said the organization and conditions were perfect. So what can I say? I'm just thrilled that it is done and it is over, and we can now focus on reaping the benefits in terms of actual concrete promotion of the development chess in Côte d'Ivoire and in West Africa.
Now, it was interesting that during the tournament, there was a spotting of Didier Drogba, and I know, he's a complete legend here, and you had a chance to speak with his personnel there. Is there any opportunity or any chance that we'll be able to get Drogba involved in our game?
The first thing that came out of the discussion was, he said, I've never played chess, but I'd like to. And he asked, can you have somebody, give me classes? And I said, yes, we can make somebody available for you for that purpose. I think that's a great...
So Drogba said this?
Yes, he did. Yes, wow. He did. And so he just could not do it this time because he had scheduled conflicts with our request to come and do the first move. But clearly he has expressed his will to support not only the development of chess in general in Côte d'Ivoire, but also he is considering the possibility, and we discussed it. I discussed it with him, but he directed his assistant to follow up with me the possibility of associating his image to the mini chess program that we carried out in Côte d'Ivoire in 2017-2018, and that we intend to continue to carry out year after year. So the discussion is continuing.
Now, in terms of the viewership of the event here, do you have any idea of how much local interest the tournament attracted? I know there was local media on the scene, but what type of feedback have you gotten?
First of all, I've never seen that amount of media interest in any event that I have ever been associated. National media responded really, they came massively. And even the sports minister was impressed. He asked me, how do you handle this? How do you make get that kind of following from the local media? And just to give one example, I gave an interview to a guy that is a member of the Association of Sports Reporters of private radio stations in Côte d'Ivoire, and they have a network of 150 radio stations that have broadcast the event, my interview and the information about chess. Local printed press is also very active. The national TV issued a few, some of the coverage of the opening ceremony, the closing ceremony, and in between. They followed every day the tournament. And so I believe that from this point on, and we are getting reactions. Many people came the day after Radio France International published a broadcast of my interview with them. And so yes, we are seeing formidable response. We have not kept count, but we have a system in place to basically count and evaluate after this. So that's to come.
What about the social media and the other sites like Chess24, Chess.com? Have you been following the discussions in terms of what people are saying about this event?
I have indeed on social media, and it's all the same, type of reaction. People write to me and say, "Was that real? I mean, were those chess stars here, and were all of them here?" And so yes, Chess24, Chess.com had reporters here to follow directly the event. Africa 24, which is the African 24-hour TV channel, was here, gave interviews, attended the opening and closing ceremony. So yes, that online media is also buzzing with all the information about the Grand Chess Tour.
And not to mention Africa Chess Media and the Chess Drum were here.
Exactly.
So in terms of this event was an organizational success, and I think a lot of people realize that.
Yeah.
You had players from ECOWAS, or the West African region here.
Yes.
They got to see these elite players close up.
Right.
This sets a high bar. So what comes after this in terms of organizing similar events, not particularly Grand Chess Tour, but getting grandmasters to come here to the continent?
A lot of plans. Again, the thing with dreaming is once a dream is over or has been turned into reality, there are 10,000 other dreams in my head competing for first place. The most immediate thing I think that we'll be able to do is, and we are discussing with Grandmaster Maurice Ashley, who was impressed with the level of innovation and ingenuity and chess potential of the youth that he met in the streets of Abidjan. So we are discussing the possibility to come here before the end of the year for 1 to 2 weeks of intensive training for the youth of Côte d'Ivoire. Ghana has expressed some interest in being a part of this. We may do it together, we may do it separately. Separately probably just because Grandmaster Ashley really wants to focus on the individual kid. I mean, give a significant targeted time to really contribute to their training. So he doesn't want a lot of kids. We probably will have to limit that to 10 to 12 maximum during those 2 weeks probably is what's going to happen. And that's just, that's something that we could not have dreamt about, 5 years ago when we started. We are actually discussing the possibility that it does this not only in Côte d'Ivoire but also in Ghana and Nigeria. So that's just a great benefit of having held this Grand Chess Tour a year. So that at least before year end, we are looking to do that. That question actually also leads me to what's next in my career as a chess organizer and manager. And my vision right now is that first of all, I will have to step down from my position as president of the Chess Federation of Côte d'Ivoire in December 2021. The reason is that I would have been at the end of my second term. I'm not someone to do more than 2 terms in anything that I've done, so I am totally determined to remove myself from the management of the Federation. But then I will be working in 2 directions. First, I plan to set up a chess academy. And I'm thrilled every time I talk about this because it's much easier and probably more effective to run a chess academy or to fund a chess academy than to run a federation, because when you run a federation you attract a lot of negativity. If you're running a chess academy, you're taking youth, you're serving as a model, they are complying, and they have to, you're educating them, you discipline them, and you make sure that they focus on the game, not on politics. And basically doing this and raising money to do it is the first axis that I plan to explore. The other axis that I want to explore is not to keep the Grand Chess Tour in Côte d'Ivoire. I think if we did the Grand Chess Tour 2 times in Côte d'Ivoire, after this one, people would not notice. People would start taking it for granted. I think it's time for the Grand Chess Tour to go larger, to go to other countries, to go to chess powerhouses in Africa. My understanding is that if we were to run with the Grand Chess Tour ball and score in a way to raise money to entertain the possibility to make it durable, to fund great events in Africa, we will have achieved more than one historical event. We would have turned the Grand Chess Tour into a durable reality and an effective tool for developing chess throughout.
It would be a catalyst.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Now I have another question, but this is slightly different.
Yes.
In Francophone Africa, there's a lot of emphasis on Draughts.
Yes.
And Francophone Africa boasts players in the top 25, very strong. And I've always been interested to know, how is it that we're able to produce players in the top 25 in Draughts, but in chess we have not been able to make similar headway? Is that something that has ever been discussed?
Yes.
You know, the difference between the two board sports?
Yes. Actually, people focus more on the similarity between the two. And when we talk about chess, we start always when we say, anybody knows about chess? And people don't. When people don't, we say it looks like Draughts. Mm-hmm. So it's that similarity is something that needs to be exploited. I believe the reason that there are two reasons why chess is less developed than Draughts. First reason is just the reality of living in an environment where the board and pieces in Draughts can be easily made available. I remember a time where we created our own just to play in the neighborhood. We took some guy in the neighborhood to fix one, and then we had the stuff to play. So it's easier to produce. And then the other thing is, in fact, there are bad misconceptions that are against chess. But the idea that chess is a sport for the elite, chess is a sport for the wealthy, and chess is a sport for the brightest or more educated people is one thing that actually really hurts chess. People would say, oh, I've heard about this game, but I don't bother. It's too much for me. And so we need to tell people that chess is not too much for anybody. And if you can't become a world champion, and I've been spreading that message, your child, your first or second or 10th child might become a world champion if you give them the possibility to do that, the opportunity, and also if you give them the parental support. So, with that understanding, what we have done is initiate contact with people that play Draughts in this country. The federation, we had initial contacts, initial discussions, but I'm sorry to say that didn't give much. We're still talking, and we are still at the initial stages of exploring the possibility for this kind of cooperation. But in practice, we have actually drafted a number of Draughts players into our existing chess clubs. One club actually in our federation, a club that's affiliated to our federation, is called Excellence Draughts and Chess Club. So EDESA, and so the cooperation that did not take place at the institutional level between the two organizations is already taking place between players at club level. And we visited their headquarters. We explored the possibility for us to use their headquarters or their playing grounds to promote chess. And so we are still talking. And in the meantime, we are getting the players to play both. The good thing about getting a player from Draughts coming to chess is, if he's a good player, good level, he understands chess theory. Yeah, he picks up chess theory just like this, and he transfers all the knowledge that he has acquired in Draughts into the field of chess. And we certainly need to think about more systematic ways of using the talent that's available in Côte d'Ivoire, transferring that to chess, and following up and providing some kind of service and exposure to those players as well and clubs as well.
So I had the pleasure of meeting Simplice Degondo, Ivorian #1. Had a chance to speak with him and practice my French just a little bit.
Yes.
And very, very nice young man, and certainly is one who's very enthusiastic. Are there any plans to have intensive training for the next Olympiad team? I think the next Olympiad is in happenstance.
Yes.
And we just had the last Olympiad in Batumi. Well, what kind of efforts are you making for training for this current Olympiad team?
Yes, thank you for that question. I've instructed my team to maintain the momentum that we had from the Olympiad, preparing for the Batumi Olympiad into the next election. And as a result of that, we are participating more in ACC, African Chess Confederation events, in the sub-region and elsewhere. So with regard to Degondo, for instance, we have noted that his main problem is a self-proclaimed chess professional. He's revered all through, all throughout, through this area, through West Africa, and even Africans. Everywhere I go, I find an African that says, "How is Degondo doing? I remember playing him this time on this country in this particular Olympiad, and I beat him or he beat me." So he's well known, but the problem is he's still not making money out of this. So we are looking for ways to fund him, because when he struggles to make ends meet, his chess level suffers significantly. He's been the first to acknowledge that. So we are discussing ways that he can focus more on chess, and the clearest way that I see is for me to give him a leadership role with funding to support that leadership role as a trainer, and as one that spends his time sharing his knowledge and passion for chess with less endowed, less prepared players. So we have discussed this a couple of times, and our particular objective for Degondo, when this happens, is to enable him to participate in every ACC tournament that's taken place, at least in our sub-region, as a way to try and get him, with the support, he can more focus, he can teach, he can learn more chess, and I believe the straight objective for him now is to move from FIDE master to international master.
I think that problem that you talked about in terms of making money from chess, or as a professional chess player, is one that a lot of players have.
Absolutely.
It's very difficult. Even Maurice Ashley will tell you the story about when he was a professional chess player.
Yes.
And he found out that he just could not sustain the level of income that he needed.
Right.
And so now he's had to put a lot of things together.
Yeah.
But saying that, I want to just ask you one last question. In terms of Côte d'Ivoire and the growth of chess in the country, where do you see Côte d'Ivoire in the next, say, 5 years? I know that's a long time. Or let's say 2 years. Where do you see Côte d'Ivoire being? What level in terms of growth, in terms of title players, and all the other metrics that represent a growing chess nation?
Well, I think the future is bright. When we started here, we had no FIDE, only one FIDE rated player, and that was Degondo, but he didn't have any FIDE title. He became a FIDE master in the Tromsø Olympiad. When I look at the projection from that period to now, I don't believe that he has accomplished much. He is still a FIDE master. So, and that's why the two of us have discussed, and I'm going to take that to the organizing committee, to the executive board, on ways that we enhance his capacity in general and get him an IM title. But in the meantime, we've also had 2 candidate masters, one of whom has turned into a FIDE master himself, and recently won the ACC event with the possibility to have an IM title. He would have been the first IM of my country. Most recently, in the last zonal event, one of our players also got the FIDE Masters title, and not to mention young bright Marie from Abidjan Échec Club, who came back from Batumi with the title of Woman Candidate Master. So I believe the future is bright. I believe we will, within the next 5 years, increase the number of titled players. But the ambition is to do much more than that. The ambition is to identify small children that can can be set on a more ambitious path to become IMs and GMs within the next 10 to 20 years. That's why I want to set up that chess academy as soon as I can and focus my efforts on running the academy once I leave the federation as president.
All right. Well, that's all the questions I have. I want to commend you for a well-run tournament, and your hospitality has been magnifique. And I look forward to coming back to Côte d'Ivoire, and hopefully there'll be much more to come in the future.
Thank you very much, Dan. It was a pleasure to have you here. I mean, it's a dream come true. You know, think about Tromsø 2014. You know, so we've made a long way together, and that's just perfect. I'm also pleased that it's no coincidence. It's no coincidence that I was wearing a chess drum T-shirt when I performed at the reggae club, and so I mean we can only take this further. Okay, we have no choice but to continue this collaboration. We really appreciate the exposure that the chess drum has given us from the toughest moment, the toughest time where we were, basically discarded as irrelevant or worse. People at FIDE. Some people at FIDE felt that we were a threat to FIDE, and have treated us as a threat to FIDE for, the next 4 years. So I mean, it's just great to be in the position where we are now, doing more for chess, seeing some results, and preparing to take fully advantage of the changes at FIDE, and also building on our relationship with the Kasparov Chess Foundation, with the Grand Chess Tour, and with all of your support, the international press, the online media, as well as the national now. One of the things that came out of this Grand Chess Tour in Côte d'Ivoire is, as the Minister of Sport said, the epiphany, the occasion for introspection into, has the Côte d'Ivoire government supported the Chess Federation the way it deserved to be supported? The minister said no, and said we will do better, we will do much more for this federation, because he thinks that the Chess Federation and the promotion of chess will lead to the rise of a new kind of citizenship that is valuable for the development of the country. And that's no small achievement to get the national minister to acknowledge that. Their work with us their support for us has been less than perfect, and resolved to do more. And we are expecting the proceeds from that, and we think that with the support of the government and also of all the potential sponsors that we have engaged at the occasion of this Grand Chess Tour in Abidjan, we believe that we will strengthen our ability, improve significantly our performance, and make a brighter future for young kid lovers and chess players, chess lovers and players in Côte d'Ivoire, but also in West Africa and the whole of the continent.
Well, thank you for your time, and we appreciate it again. Wonderful job, and look forward to seeing what you do next.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a
Okay.
lot. Dan.